What's going on, guys? Get you123 here, and today, I I almost just said with more Grand Theft Auto 5. However, this is not going to be about Grand Theft Auto 5. This is going to be a video where I kind of just ramble on about my own thoughts and opinions regarding certain topics, and this is kind of like a video style that I would like to bring to my channel, and just, do it every now and then. I'm not going to say like, oh, every Tuesday I'll do it, because I've actually learned that I'm not able to stick to a schedule. I'm just not able to do it. I've tried it before, but as of now, I'm not able to stick to scheduled uploads, so, this might be the kind of thing that I make whenever I feel like it, whenever I'm feeling like an intellectual, but no, as you can see from the title of this video, we are going to be discussing what defines success. So, if you're only subscribed to me for Grand Theft Auto 5, and that's all you want to see, then, you might want to just stop watching the video right now, but if you're maybe in the mood to think a little bit, and, have your thoughts provoked, and maybe share some of your opinions as well, then feel free to maybe stay tuned and just kind of join in on the discussion, even though you can't actually join because unfortunately this is a video and it's pretty one-sided with me talking to you, but you can leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. But anyways, yes, as I was saying, this is something that's kind of been on my mind a lot lately. Well, not a lot, but it popped into my mind recently, and I'm not entirely sure what inspired it, but that thought was, what defines success? Now, right off the bat, you might say to yourself, oh, well, that's obvious what defines success. I mean, doesn't everybody know what success is and how it's defined? And, like Donald Trump, he's successful, and Bill Gates, he's successful. But I guess the problem that I have with our definition of success, as Americans, I don't know if this varies in other cultures, but I find it very odd that we define success by how much money a person makes and how, I guess, successful they are in their lives, but we base that on their possessions, we base that on their social status, we base that on the size of their house, how much money they make, the cars they drive, and things like that. But do we ever take into account the happiness of that person? Because ultimately, when you're in your deathbed, isn't that the true goal of life? To live a happy life, You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not a happy person, then were you successful? If you were always miserable, were you a successful person? Obviously, it depends on how you look at it and how you define success, because, well, if you define success in monetary terms, in money, then yes, you were successful, but if the true goal in life is to lead a happy and fulfilling life, and you didn't do that, well, then suddenly, you're not so successful. Because I guess the question that really pops into my mind then is, who is more successful? A billionaire who dies miserable, or a poor man who dies genuinely happy? Just to give a little bit more detail on the hypothetical lives of these two people, let's say it's a rich man who was able to buy everything he ever wanted. He had his dream house, his dream car. He had, all the money in the world. He was able to buy all the possessions he wanted, go on vacations, and things like that. But then he lacked the things that would make him truly happy, whether that was love, or a family, or something like that. And when it came down to it, he pretty much died an unhappy, miserable person. So that guy, or the poor man, who never really had a lot of money, he struggled month to month, but as long as he lived frugally and didn't spend a lot of money, and he didn't have the nicest things, but he was able to make it. He wasn't struggling to the point where he was starving, but by no means was he living a wealthy lifestyle. But when you got down to it, he was genuinely happy. He had loved ones in his life. He had a family, and he was content in where he was in his life. He didn't have to worry about the high stress of a high-profile lifestyle with all of the money and things in the way, So that is where I reiterate my question to you. Who's more successful at the end of their life? A rich man who dies miserable, or a poor man that dies happy? And that's where I go back to the beginning, kind of, and I say that, well, most people would say the rich man, but why do we measure the success of somebody's life based on monetary terms, on money, and on their possessions? Because, as I was saying, isn't the ultimate goal of life to live a happy life, to be genuinely happy, and to find emotional fulfillment? And I think that's where this gets kind of interesting, because I guess really what that says about us as Americans, as I said, I don't know how it is in certain European countries, or even more poor third world countries, but it says something about us that we base the success off of their possessions, and I find that very interesting, and honestly quite sad. I feel like if you could go back 1 million years ago, success might be measured a little differently, because As I keep saying, the goal of life should not be to have the nicest things. Because what was the point of ever living if you had the nicest things but you were never happy? You didn't lead a very fulfilling life, and in my mind, you weren't successful. You were not successful if you were a rich man and you were not happy. Because when it really comes down to it, you only live once, and I think the ultimate goal that we should all have is to just be happy in life. Simple as that. And furthermore, maybe we should change our definition of success from, oh, you know, he's wealthy, he did well, to, oh, look at him. He lived a happy, fulfilling life. He experienced genuine happiness regardless of his physical possessions and financial status. Now, there is one factor that I should mention, and this is kind of like an outlying factor, an exception, and that is the rich man who is genuinely happy, because we know those people exist. I guess I'm kind of almost oversimplifying this by saying, you know, oh, if you're rich, you're going to be miserable, and if you're poor, you're going to be happy. Obviously, that's not always the case. Obviously, there are people who are extremely rich and probably genuinely happy, and unfortunately, I'm sure that there are also people in the world who are not so wealthy, who are poor, and who are genuinely miserable as well. So I guess those two factors I'm not really taking into so much consideration, but mainly focusing on the rich miserable man and the poor happy man. So I don't know. I guess that's where I really ask you guys, at this point in time, are you successful in your life? Now think of that based on the definition that I gave you. Forget the definition that you've been taught. You know, don't worry about your success based on how much money is in your bank account, how many video game consoles you have, or things like that. Think about it in terms of happiness and the fulfillment of your life at this point in time. And then furthermore, you could ask yourself, do you think that money would make you a happier person? Because we all know that to an extent, money does buy happiness. It's been proven even in studies before that to a certain extent, money does buy happiness. And I'll talk about that in a future video. I'm not going to get too much into that right now, but that about wraps it up. I'm not entirely even sure what the whole point of this video was. It was basically, as I said, a topic that's kind of been on my mind lately, and I wanted to discuss it with you guys to kind of share our opinions. So I definitely want to know what you think in the comments below. And also, if you like this style of video and you would like to see maybe some more thought-provoking topics in the future, then definitely let me know. I have a few other things written down that I might want to touch on in the future that aren't even video game related, but just, you know, things to think about. So with that, guys, please stay tuned for more videos in the future. I will see you next time.